everyone. This is Brittnee Bond, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm just hopping on here real quick to cover something that has been on my mind, and I think it's been on a lot of your guys' minds as well. And this is what's happening with the WizardLiz. So the only reason why I know about this beautiful, powerful woman is because a lot of you have sent her podcast to me and her content, and you're like, look at Brittnee, she does manifesting stuff. She's super empowering with women, and she's all about like masculine, feminine energy. I think you would really like what she's doing because I've learned a lot from her and I've learned a lot from you and blah, 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 blah. So I checked her out and I legitimately think she's cool. And what I can't unsee right now is what's happening with her and I think it's her husband. So here's the facts as far as I understand it. Please correct me if I'm wrong, is that she is 4 months pregnant with her husband, and he cheated on her with by making an account on Snapchat. Who the fuck uses Snapchat? And was hitting on another girl and telling this other woman that his marriage with Liz was not real and blah, 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 blah. And then that girl reached out to one of Liz's friends and shared the screenshots. And then there was this big eruption where it was all over social media. There has been like lots of responses back and forth on Insta stories and stuff. But what I found to be super interesting is what's happening right now with Liz and this guy's ex. So this Lance, her husband's ex, reached out and made a bunch of stories saying that he was abusive to her, and that a lot of the behavior that he's showing towards Liz right now is not new. And then Liz's response was to defend her husband and to kind of like call out this girl and say this girl is a gold digger and blah, blah, blah. I find this to be fascinating, but also I want to break this down for you of like my reaction to it, because I also am not very surprised by this. And the reason why I'm saying that is that when someone is raised in the way that Liz was raised, which is very similar to how I was raised, like in a super abusive household where you were not given that much love or attention, if anything, you were given the opposite. So you really had to like fight every breath of your life in order to stay grounded in who you are. And because of all of that journey that she has gone on, she has been able to really ground in who her authentic self is. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that's really what shines through in a lot of her videos. And that's why so many people resonate with her. And also because of all of the hardships that she's gone through, she has learned a lot. She has a lot of things to say about like how you should show up as your authentic self, how to manifest things in your life, how to be able to call in the man that you want to be with, because she knows what it's like to be with someone who's really shitty, like with her, I think it was her stepfather or something like this. And I think that the messages that she is sharing is super on point. What people, the community is really upset about right now is it feels like the way that she is showing up in her personal life is not authentic or is not in alignment with what she is sharing on her teachings on her podcast. And I think I want to speak to that because I understand. I really feel like people who have gone through a lot of trauma. So there's something called, if you know what PTSD is, like post-traumatic stress, right? So this is like when you go through a super stressful situation and you come out and like your nervous system needs to heal from that situation. But there's something called CPTSD, which is complex PTSD. And that means like you have gone under extreme amounts of stress for way longer than a human should be able to handle. And it usually can go on for like weeks, months, years. So this is like your nervous system is so stressed out and it's so used to that high activation, which is not healthy for any humans. It's not healthy for any of us, but some of us have gone through it. I myself have gone through this. I think Liz, from her experience of what she's shared, has gone through this. And when you have gone through this really high intense trauma, there is something very embedded in your nervous system that gets used to that and starts seeking that out. And the reason why we attract in people that remind us of our abusers, remind us of bad things that have happened to us, is because our nervous system wants to get activated close, not as hard as it was when the first trauma happened, but it wants to be activated in almost the same way so that we can have what's called a corrective experience. So then we can, as an adult, go through something really hard that reminds us of what happened to us as a kid that caused trauma and be like, oh, I can have a different outcome. I can prove in my body, in my somatic nervous system, that somatic means the sensations going through your body. So I can prove in my body, and I can tell my inner child, oh, look, I can take care of myself. I can handle myself. I can heal myself. And this is why people who are seemingly very powerful and very evolved and very awake sometimes end up attracting in situations that are everything but that. And that's okay, because we also are human. I think this is something I want to speak to, is the humanness of Liz. And I think that's something that should be taken into account and should be held space for. A lot of people are getting very angry at her and saying, like, you're going to kill your whole brand. Like, everything that you're speaking to right now, we're not going to believe anymore. And it's like, she's a human. She has gone through a lot of stuff in her life, and she has done her best to transmute it and to come out the other end in a powerful way. And also use the things that she's gone through, her biggest heartaches, as gifts to give to the rest of the world. And I feel like she's really done that. And also there needs to be something, space held for her inner child who still wants to heal and still attracts in situations that remind her of how it was for her growing up, because she wants to have a corrective experience where it's hard and it doesn't feel good, and then she's able to, save herself. So basically right now it's this pivotal moment where, she met a guy where a lot of people think that he stalked her. Do I think he stalked her? I would say it's 80% chance that he stalked her. I also believe that sometimes the universe brings in people into our life to test us and to have these corrective experiences. Some people call them karmic connections, if you're more spiritual. So whether he stalked her or not, in order to get into her life, she welcomed him into her life. She's the one who accepted him, started dating him. And I found it interesting, like 2 days before all of this cheating stuff came out, they made a video they published together, and many people have analyzed this video and talked about how, like, body language wise, he is not showing her the kind of affection and love that a normal person who's dearly in love with their new wife and pregnant mother, like the mother of their children, would be. And also she openly admits, and he agrees, that he's very controlling. He has mood swings. And he's like, yeah, because you're my woman, like all this stuff. And I want to speak to that because there is something so deep ingrained in our inner children when we weren't. So there's something called containment. And when we're children, like, positive containment is that the masculine figure in your life, your dad, your stepfather, whoever is the male figure in your life, is able to hold space for you emotionally and physically in a way where you can still feel that you can expand and you can grow. Like, you can feel safe enough to grow, but you still feel safe. Like, there's a containment of, like, I got you, I have your back, like, I'm here for you. And if you were not able to get this as a child, and the only thing that you were able to see or witness or experience was the wounded version of this, which is like possession and controlling and abuse, then as an adult, there might be a mix-up in your brain. It's not even in your brain. I think it's actually in our bodies, like our somatic fields, like the sensations going through our bodies, which is like, oh, this feels like how it felt for me growing up. So maybe this is what it feels like to be loved, because the masculine figure in my life showed me love in this way. And even if we can, in our intellectualize and in our psyches, in our brains, be like, this is what I should accept, and this is da-da-da, it can almost feel like the split part of us. There's like two different personalities inside of us. There's the awakened, higher self perspective that is like, I deserve to be treated like a queen, and I deserve this, and I deserve that, which is him sending her, like, Landon sending her like 750 roses. And, she said that he spent like $1 million on her in the last year and all this stuff. And that's like, I deserve that. But then there's the inner child that is like, oh, growing up, the masculine father figure in me was very possessive and controlling, and this is what I experienced love to be. And so when she says things like, oh, you're very controlling, you have mood swings, and he's like, yeah, yeah. And everyone thinks this is a positive thing, like within their world. For me, that's like a huge red flag. But it's also, again, it's something that I understand. I've been in many relationships like this. And I think that the thing that really gets me fired up about this situation is that I've been in similar situations in the past with like controlling men and men who were cheating on me. And I lead a community in some way in Thailand and online. And for me, I feel a huge responsibility to all the people who are listening, all the people who look up to me. And I feel like my life is not just about me anymore. It's about like the people who are in my community. And with this situation with Liz, I feel that she's a new mom, and I can understand the hormonal things that are happening, the wanting to feel safe, not just for herself, but for her new child. But it really feels like the energy that I sense in the situation, I'm very intuitive with these kind of things, is that she's going to take him back. And that gets me really like upset, frustrated, because it's not just about her anymore. I feel like right now as a collective, like there's this collective awakening of the feminine, and there's like this sacred rage a lot of us women feel about being mistreated by the masculine. And I feel like Liz has been one of these women who's really calling this out. You know, like I remember this girl coming up to me on the beach and being like, "You remind me of the WizardLiz girl," and da da da. And I just watched one of her podcasts where she was saying that like if a guy is not providing for you and paying for you, then like, you know, why are you even sharing your energy with him? Because like as women, we have this divine goddess energy, and like men should be protecting and providing for us. And I was thinking like, wow, I really agree with that. That's amazing that like this woman is preaching this, and like young women are listening. And now I'm thinking like, okay, she said all of that stuff, but her actions are showing that a guy can be controlling and possessive and cheating on you, and it's okay to take him back, you know? And I don't feel that that is a good role model for a lot of the women who are listening to her, and also for the men who are watching all of this on the sidelines and being like, I guess that's what women will take, you know? Like if a guy has money, apparently he can do whatever he wants. And I really just don't agree with that. But I feel that like some of the comments I was reading was like, oh, this is why like she's going to take him back, and this is why Liz doesn't have any close female friends, because she called out this ex of Landon's, and like she's basically blasting the women who were actually reaching out online to support her in her journey. And she was instead supporting her baby daddy, who just like cheated on her and wasn't even really taking full responsibility until he kind of got completely canceled on the internet. So I just don't agree with men who only take responsibility once they have been like completely called out by the community. I think like a man taking responsibility is like immediately in the moment, I fucked up. Like I'm here. How do we fix this? You know, to only take responsibility once you got caught in a very public way, and then to try and just get it feels like the objectives to get the person back instead of to actually heal what has been broken. And this is what I fear for Liz, is that right now she is very vulnerable. She's in the public eye and she's pregnant. And everyone has their opinion. I'm even putting my opinion out here. But what I'm doing is I'm sending a lot of love to her, and I'm sending a lot of positive energy. And I invite all of you and invoke all of you to also. Because this situation, the reason why I'm sharing about this is because this is an opportunity for us to look into our own psyches, especially as women, and to ask ourselves, in what situations have I been self-abandoning? In what situations am I not fully showing up for myself? Am I allowing, you know, men or anyone to walk over me to push their own agenda? Am I really aligned with my authentic truth? Like in what I'm preaching to the world, am I also walking that talk? And I think this is one of these times where we see right now as a collective, people who are put on the pedestal of being community leaders, spiritual leaders, are really being held accountable. But I think the deeper truth is that each one of us needs to become our own leader. We can't blindly be following people who put out a really cool podcast online. Like, I don't want you to blindly follow me. I don't want you to put me on a pedestal. I don't want you to put Liz on a pedestal. It's like everyone is human. We're all having our human experience, which sometimes for it hopefully is like, you know, following your soul mission and super aligned. And sometimes you're going to be like a human who's like in the corner crying, like, just, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to figure this out. And all of those things are true. But the most important thing is like, are you yourself, like every beautiful listener who's listening to this podcast right now, are you following your own intuition? Are you following what feels good in your body and what is connected to your soul, your higher self, God, source, whatever you want to call it? Like, are you developing your connection to that bigger part of yourself? And are you listening to the intuitive whispers of your heart? Because that's really the only game we need to be playing in this life. It's not about what happens. Like these stories, like the story with Liz and even the one I shared in my last podcast about Aubrey Marcus, it's like these are really important stories that are happening within our bigger global community. But the real point of it is that we are using them to ask ourselves deeper questions about ourselves. It's about our own growth. And I find it to be, I mean, the thing that I find really interesting about Liz is that, like, you know, she's so famous, right? That like, there's something that happens. I started to notice this about myself is that when people know you from online, they create this whole image of you, right? And a lot of it has nothing to do with your real reality. It is them putting you on a pedestal. And so when you meet people in real life, I mean, I'll give you an example. I'm here in Berlin for almost 2 months now. Every single day here in Berlin, someone comes up to me and says, I've listened to your podcast for 2 years. I'm so excited to meet you. And like, I'm one of your biggest fans. And I'm like, that's amazing. I'm so happy. And they're like, but they were like, and there's this weird thing that happens where they're like, I know so much about you. And I'm like, I know nothing about you. And still, I'm like super happy that I'm able to positively influence people's lives on the internet. Like, this is what the beautiful tool that is technology today. But on the other hand, when you're looking for a life partner and people are following you online, like a couple of my last partner, I would say a couple of men in my life in the last couple years who have listened to my podcast, they create this image of me, which maybe not necessarily is the real reality of me. And I feel like what I'm trying to say is I feel like this is what's happening with Liz and this Landon guy, is that she's so famous and there's this image of her that has been created online. And I think it's very authentic, but it's also maybe doesn't incorporate and encapsulate the full breadth of who she is, which includes her trauma, right? And all the things that need to be healed. And then this guy is like, wow, she has got high social status. She's this beautiful goddess woman. I want that. And then he just like goes after it and gets it. But there needs to be some vetting process of whether this is the thing that so many people were saying is like, who the heck is this guy? Like, he's just a normal guy. Yes, he has money, but he's not that great looking. His personality kind of sucks. And he doesn't seem like he's even that into her. So like, why is she allowing this into her life? And this is something that I want to speak to because I have had my very close friends, my soul family, I call them, say to me multiple times about past men that I've had in my life, like, Brittnee, we love you, but like, who is this guy? And like, one of my best friends, Susanna, she's like, I feel like sometimes you just find like random men on the street and you're just like, that one, that's the one I'm going to choose. And I don't think that, but I also believe that I have a blind spot. So what I started to realize was that any men that I'm going to have in my life as like a, a potential life partner, they have to meet my close people and my close, I call them my chosen family, my soul family, and my soul family has to approve of them. Because I have a blind spot through trauma and through like past things where I sometimes can't see clearly what is right in front of me. And I'm, because I'm such a lover girl, I want to be in love. I want to be with someone. I would love to, but now I realize this is why I have been single for over a year now, because I realized this was a blind spot of mine. And also I started having my soul family do like vibe checks where they meet these men and they're like, nah, no. And I feel like Liz needs some of these women in her life, these women and men in her life, like her own chosen family, where I know she has her sister, But like these people that are just like, hello, are you looking at this thing? Are you looking at this thing? Like, and watching out for her and making sure that she is okay. And like, sorry, there was an ambulance. I had to cut that moment. So I feel like we all, Liz, me, everyone, we all need this soul family first, like this community. Like relationships are not meant to happen in silos. Like we're meant to have relationships embedded in deep community where us, like ourselves and our partners, have a group of friends and family that they can connect with and like rely on and like lean on so that the relationship can work. And I just think like right now as a collective, we've gone to the max extreme level of exploring the idea of the individual, and we've really lost the plot somewhere along the way when it comes to connection. So yeah, I'm here for like sending Liz positive energy. I have a feeling she's going to get back with Landon. Again, even if she does, this is still her opportunity for growth. At any moment, she can leave and be an empowered woman. And also, is it, in my opinion, that her getting back with him is the least empowered step? Yes. But also, if she needs to do that as a learning lesson for herself, I believe that she is so powerful, she will wake up from it. Even if she snaps out of it one day and just being like, oh no, I deserve so much better than this. But we can all like send her positive energy and also hold that vibrational reality for her to be with someone that really deserves her and that really like will worship her in the way that she deserves, because this is what we all deserve. And also to really look at ourselves and ask ourselves, like, am I holding my own standards of what I deserve in my life, of how I choose to be treated and choose to be loved? And like, there's just so much I want to say about this, but I'm about to have a bunch of my women over. I host play parties. If you don't know, I'm hosting a vanilla play party on Sunday here in Berlin. And every time before, some of them are already here listening to this podcast on the couch. Every time before, I have all of the women who host the play party with me over, and we do a big dinner and sharing circle. And there's about to be 15, 20 women in this beautiful little flat I'm in. And on Tuesday, I go to Egypt, which I'm super excited for. Spiritual side quest. Okay, they're here. I have to go. This is Brittnee Bond. I am so excited to see you in the next podcast. Bye.